Hello, welcome to the 8th episode of the Kindness Files. I am your host, Gina, founder of Kind2. The aim of this podcast is to spread a bit of joy with fond memories and connecting, if I can speak today, amazing humans together through kindness. We've been talking to some amazing humans that have shaped my life, and this is the first time that I've spoken to somebody that I've met through a network, so I'm super excited to speak to Lisa today, who is our 8th guest. We met through like-minded females, both as mentors, and Lisa is a lawyer, coach, mentor, charity trustee, fitness professional, mindfulness teacher, endurance runner, and also a mum of 2. It sounds like you do so much interesting and cool stuff. I'm so excited to get into this chat. Lisa's been working in the legal and finance industry for over 15 years. And she also does some amazing work, which I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about in the kindness space, which is how we kind of connected on this. So I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Georgina. And it's an absolute joy to be here. I remember when you came up with the idea of this and you put it out to the like-minded females WhatsApp group, I jumped straight on it because it aligned so nicely with a lot of the work that I do around the theme of kindness, both in the corporate world, but also in the education world as well, because I'm, as you mentioned, a coach and a mentor and a lawyer in the financial services profession. But outside of that, I do a lot of work kind of teaching people mindfulness, teaching people things that kind of help them to invest in their well-being so they can be a bit kinder to themselves, because don't we all need a little bit more of that? And also, I work as a charity trustee, so I'm chair of the board of trustees at Be Kind Movement, which is an educational charity which works on helping children to develop kindness and emotional intelligence to set them up with the resilience that they need now and in the future. So really helping to cultivate the leaders of the future. So don't we need more kindness in leadership?
Absolutely. And I love the idea of cultivating kindness now, also for our leaders of the future. I think it's an absolutely incredible charity to be.
If they can build these skills now, it sets them up for success for the future. And also it has a ripple effect. So what they do then kind of leads out to encouraging and inspiring other people, not just other children, but also adults too. So their parents, their teachers, strangers that they encounter in life, and people that they'll work with in the future.
Absolutely. And we're going to dive into the questions now. So question number 1 is, what does kindness mean to you?
What does kindness mean to me? Kindness for me really means listening, actually. Like, it means listening to understand other people. So not just kind of listening to be understood yourself, but listening to understand, because it's only when you really understand what other people need and how they're feeling that you can really respond to that with true kindness, and then finding ways to support other people. And that could be big or small. It doesn't have to be a massive act of kindness. Actually, some of the smaller acts of kindness, and we'll touch on these later, but the smaller acts of kindness can actually be the most powerful because of the ripple effect that they have.
Absolutely. And moving on from that, can you tell me of a time where you remember an act of kindness and why it stuck with you?
Yeah, so I was mulling this over because there's obviously been, so many little acts of kindness over the course of my life. I guess one thing that really stood out to me was, so you mentioned I'm a mum of 2. So I've got 2 young kids. They're now 6 and 4. So they're a little bit older. They're not babies anymore. But I remember when I first became a mum and I had a newborn baby, and I live in central London, so I'm traveling around on the tube and stuff. And I'd never really appreciated in the past how inaccessible some of the tube stations can be. It's like marching around the tube stations with a pram, trying to get it up and down stairs and things. And being able to move around the stations was something that I really took for granted in the past. Then having the pram, it's really difficult. And there were a number of times where like a stranger would come up to me and say, can I help? And it's a really simple thing. But it actually, it means the world when someone does that. And so now I make sure that whenever I'm in tube stations now and I'm on my own and I have the ability to help others in that situation, I always offer to help and support. And, it makes a big difference to people.
Absolutely. I think especially, yeah, London can be the most wonderful, but also underground it can be quite inaccessible. So anything that we can do to make it slightly more accessible for people, I think is a wonderful thing. Question number 3, what would you say you're most thankful for?
What am I most thankful for? I think the people that I have in my life. So yeah, my kids, 100%. So thankful for them every single day. They bring a little bit of joy into my life. Their hugs, the little kind of "mummy, I love you." It like honestly makes my heart sing. And the little things that they do every day, I mean, they just are so gorgeous. But then the other people I have in my life more broadly, so partner, family, my friends, I've been through some tough times over the years, and having that kind of extended family, the non-blood relatives, so those people that you choose to bring into your life as your family, they're so important. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for those people, because I think that if it wasn't for some of the friends that I've got in my life, I wouldn't have been able to get through some of the really tough times that I have been through. So hugely grateful for them every day.
And a supportive network. I think the more people I speak to about kindness, that kind of, it's kindness internally, but the connections that we make throughout our life, that kind of, like you said earlier, the ripple effect of conversation and kindness, I think is really beautiful.
It is, and it's knowing that you're not alone, right? Like that actually, we're all here as humans having a human experience. And the more you talk to people, the more you open up to people about some of the things you're going through, the more you realize that you're probably not having a completely unique experience. Someone else has probably felt what you felt. They've thought what you felt. And if they haven't, then they probably will at some point in the future. So the more we can be open about some of the challenges that we're facing, the more we can build that resilience together, because we are stronger together than we are separately. That's certainly something that I've learned. I think for a long time, felt like I needed to prove my strength and my independence by doing things alone and managing things alone. And actually, with time, I've realized that it's not weak to ask for help. It's actually strong. It's actually a sign of strength if you can ask someone else to help you. And also it enables them to do something kind, which then lifts them too. So again, to your point, ripple effect.
Yep, absolutely. I completely agree with the trying to prove yourself as an independent person, and actually, it's not weak to ask for help. It is a really strong thing to say, "Can I have a hand with this? I'm not sure." And like you said, sometimes that other person may not have understood it either. So you're creating those connection pieces by opening up.
Yeah.
And what brings you the most joy in life?
Well, the little things, right? So it is the little things. So, I mentioned my kids, it's the little things that they do, like when, they jump into bed in the morning, they give me a hug and they say, "Good morning, mummy." And that just, that brings a lot of joy into my life. Simple things like, going outside and experiencing nature, just having that moment of awe when you look around you. And I'm really experiencing that at the moment as, we're kind of coming into summer and nature is really coming to life. And you see this beautiful greenery everywhere. We were out over the bank holiday weekend in the countryside outside of London. And it was just, it just brought me so much joy to be outdoors, being in nature and experiencing that. And from a very, personal perspective as well, exercise brings me a lot of joy. It releases all those happy hormones, but I it's something that I really love. I spend a lot of time doing. It's one of the reasons I, off the side of my day job, trained to be a fitness professional and trained to be a yoga teacher, is because movement really lifts my mood. It lifts my spirit, and I think really helps to connect me to others as well. So I've always loved being in that kind of group environment, whether it's being in a class, practicing yoga alongside somebody else, or whether it's going off and running a marathon in a group of people. Just being connected to other people doing something like that brings me a lot of joy.
And there's a lot of camaraderie, isn't there? Especially when you're digging really deep for something,
Mm.
whether it's a marathon or in a yoga class. Digging deep together is a real connection point.
Yeah, exactly. I've done a marathon twice in South Africa. Actually, it's an ultra marathon called
Oh, cool.
Comrades, for exactly that reason, because it's all about building that camaraderie, and it's a massive leveler, right? Because everyone, I do a lot of work in the diversity and inclusion space as well, and with those kind of things, when you're just all together and you're running 26 miles or whatever it happens to be, or as you say, you're in a yoga class together, practicing the postures, the asana. Nothing else matters. Like, it's just about that. It's just being together, practicing whatever, the movement is in the moment, and doing that together and connecting on that level. So it's a massive leveler.
Yep. Yeah. And if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you do?
If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do? Well, sky's the limit, really. I love going out and trying new things, so I try all kinds of different things. I'm also not really afraid of failure. I've learned to embrace failure over the years, so I don't think that failure necessarily holds me back. Kind of leaning into that growth mindset, very much kind of the attitude that if we do fail along the way, then that's teaching us something, and we learn from that, and it makes us stronger and more resilient as a result. So I'm going to turn that question on its head, because I don't really let failure stop me most of the time. I mean, obviously I'm human, and naturally, we're programmed not really to like it, but certainly, yeah, I think, look at a yoga class, for example. If I counted the number of times I've fallen on my head trying to do a handstand, eventually I'll nail it. I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
Maybe if I really knew I couldn't fail, I'd practice a bit harder. But I think sometimes the failure inhibits me a little bit and holds me back. So maybe that's a lesson for me to push myself a little harder and push my limits.
And also to kind of work like within your boundaries. So failing over and falling doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to fall over. It's kind of like that, especially in a headstand position or handstand. It's that muscle movement of, actually, if I just tweak it slightly, it will move into the position I need it to eventually.
Yeah, but I realize, like, a lot of it is on our heads as well. It's that fear that you're going to fall over and you're going to, crash on the floor that stops you from pushing yourself as far as you need to go. But then when I look back at my kids when they were growing up and they were learning to walk, I mean, the number of times, they fall down on their bums and they pick themselves back up again and they carry on. And, if you want to learn about failure, if you want to learn about trying hard and building resilience, like, look at a kid and look at all the things that they learn when they're toddlers, and babies as well. I mean, it's just absolutely remarkable. So certainly being a mum has been a massive life lesson to me.
And when was the last time you did something for the first time?
I feel like I'm doing something for the first time every day. Today, I had a little bit of a nightmare this morning because I drove my kids to a kids' holiday camp, which was at a school that I hadn't been to before. It was at a different location. And so I was, driving through parts of London and roads that I didn't know, and trying to keep my cool and not be stressed about the fact they were being late. And then I couldn't find a parking. And I was reflecting on it on the way back from when I had eventually managed to actually kind of drop them off. And on the way back, I thought, okay, I could see that as a complete disaster. But actually, like, I guess I built a bit of confidence in the process. I did it for the first time. I think one of the things I had to do is, those roads that are really, really narrow and they've got those kind of bollards either side.
Bollardy things, yeah.
I'm always so stressed that I'm going to, hit the side of the car. So I'm going through really, really slowly. And I think I had to do about 4 or 5 of those. So I was like, actually, it was a great driving lesson.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Always trying to see the positive in things and the learning opportunity.
Yeah.
But I think like, being kind to yourself, right? Like, it could have been, I could have very easily slipped into beating myself up over that whole situation, saying I should have planned it better, should have thought more about kind of what time I needed to get there, how far in advance I needed to leave, what route I was going to take. But instead, I turned down the dial on the inner critic and I said, just be kind to yourself, like, have some self-compassion. That's really important.
That also leads very nicely into my penultimate question of how have you treated yourself with kindness lately?
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
But I think like every single day I try and do something nice for myself. And that doesn't mean like necessarily like taking myself off to the spa for a pamper, but it's just little things like taking a pause in the middle of the day, like carving out some space in between meetings. You mentioned that I'm a lawyer. I work in financial services industry, and it can be incredibly busy at times, and be, back-to-back meetings all day long. So just trying to carve out a bit of space for myself between meetings, step outside, take a breath, get some fresh air. If I can, trying to get out and do some exercise. So at some point today, for example, I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy some of the beautiful sunshine outside and have a run and get some time for myself. But also, little things like making sure you get an early night, get some sleep, get some rest. I'm very much, well, as you mentioned, I do a lot of things. I like to keep busy, and I have to remind myself to slow down sometimes, that actually you don't have to be go, go, go all of the time. And it is important to do things that are going to fill your cup back up. And that can be really simple stuff like rest and getting good nutrition and making sure you drink a glass of water, all of those simple things. But it's the basics that often we forget when we are really busy and we're, constantly on the go. So it's coming back to the basics, I think, which is one of the ways we can be the kindest to ourselves.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today. And I think you've also got a post-it note, which is a kind note to a stranger.
We do.
If you could hold it up camera, yeah. And also if you hold it up a little bit closer, kind of like to how my hand is, if you go a little bit the other way, yeah, and then if you could read it out, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, you are stronger than you think you are.
Absolutely, I love that. Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoy the sunshine today, and join us next week, folks, where we're going to be speaking to another awesome human. So enjoy the kindness files, be kind to yourself. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks so much, Georgina. Bye. Bye, everyone.